Welcome to the module of safety, laws and regulation. Now the law and regulations are an integral part of any chemical process safety aspect because these laws and regulations, they not only guard the workers or people those who are adjoining, but also they are the custodian of environment, and also they provide the latest safety guidelines for the industry also, so that in any kind of economic losses, any kind of human fatality, any kind of environmental damage can be avoided. So, from time to time, the different regulating agencies, including the government, state government or a central government, they used to amend these law and regulation based on the feedback and based on the impact of various industries to the environment as well as human aspect. So, they need to update those laws and regulations. Now, because one of the preamble of these law and regulation is that the right to live or right to take a healthy air or right to take safe drinking water, these are the fundamental right of every citizen of any country. So, based on these type of requirement, different government, state government or a central government, they frame the regulations, they frame the different laws to protect the interest of their citizens. Now here, based on the requirement, every state in Indian context, they are free to frame the law which are for the beneficiaries of their citizen. But while framing this law, the government also take into account that it should not hamper the employment opportunity of their citizen. So there is a need to balance these two aspects and then to frame the laws, because ultimately, as I discussed, that these laws are also the guiding factor for the industry to work upon. So let us have an introduction about this aspect. The Constitution of India, this provides a detailed provision for the rights of the citizen and also lays down different type of principle of governance of the country. They are called the directive principle of state policy. So occupational safety and health is one of the subject allotted to the Ministry of Labour and Employment under the Government of India allocation of business rules. So the occupational, this Ministry of Labour and Employment, and nowadays the National Green Tribunal, Ministry of Environment and Forest and different regulatory bodies like CPCB, etc., they framed all those safety and health or environmental rules for the safeguard of the citizen of India. So the industrial safety and health branch of the ministry, they discharges the overall functions related to policy decision and laying down the guidelines for countrywide adoption of those legislation. Now, there is a national policy on safety, health and environment at workplace. So this was declared on 20th February 2009 by the Ministry of Labour and Employment. Now, the basic purpose of this policy is to establish a preventive safety and health culture in the country through elimination of the incident of work-related injuries, diseases, fatalities, disaster, and to enhance the well-being of employee in all the sectors of economic activity in the country. Now, remember, when we talk about the injury, disease, fatalities, disasters, etc., then when this type of guiding factors are being framed by the regulatory body, then it is a abiding factor for industry to follow up, so that they can frame their safety design, safety manuals, processes according to those guidelines as laid down by the regulatory bodies, so that the fatalities either within the industry or injuries within the industry or illness within the industry as well as the outer can be minimized. Now, there are certain features of this policy that it recognizes the safe and healthy working environment as a fundamental human right. It aims at enhancing the well-being of the employee and the society at large by eliminating work-related injuries and diseases. It enumerates the goals to be achieved and brings into focus the objective of continuous reduction in the incidence of work-related injuries and diseases. So you can see that these are the general guidelines of this policy, and all the sub-policies, they can be framed accordingly, or you can say this is the mission statement or a vision statement of this policy. Now there are major occupational safety and health legislations. So let us have a look about those major legislations. So there are four main legislations that cover the occupational safety and health at workplace. So first in this category was established in way back in 1948, and that is called the Factories Act 1948. Now, they covers the factories wherein the enforcement of safety at workplace by the Chief Inspector of Factories in the respective state. Then later on, the Mines Act came into the picture, and the Mines Rule came into the picture at 1952 and 1955 respectively for the mining industry, where the enforcement is by the Directorate General of Mines Safety, DGMS, under the Ministry of Labour and Employment, Government of India. Now remember, whenever we are framing these rules, they are purely based on the present and partially the future context. So whenever any kind of technological advancement, any kind of environmental demand, they may take place in due course of time, then there may be an utmost need to change or reframe those act or laws. So based on this factor, there are certain amendments and certain new laws, they came into existence in due course of time. So in 1986, the Dock Workers Safety, Health and Welfare Act was passed by a regulatory body like Parliament, followed by the notification of the Dock Workers Safety, Health and Welfare Regulation 1990, dealing with the major ports of India, and the enforcement is by the Director General of Factory Advice Service and Labour Institutes under the Ministry of Labour and Employment, Government of India. So they have framed the rules and regulations for the various dock workers. Then the Building and Other Construction Workers Regulation Employment Condition of the Service Act 1996 was framed, covering the construction workers at construction sites, wherein the enforcement is by the Director General Labour Welfare in the central sphere and by the Labour Commissioner and factory inspectors in the states and union territories. So these are the various legislation. Apart from other acts being implemented, and those are very specific in nature for the different industries. Like you can see, there is an Indian Boiler Act that was established in 1923, and later on it was amended in 2007. Now this act is to consolidate and amend the law relating to steam boilers, because boiler is a pressure vessel. So to cater the need of any kind of safety operation or safety related issues, this Indian boiler, because once it bursts, then definitely it may be catastrophic for the workers, those who are adjoining, and sometimes it may hamper to the adjoining areas nearby the factories. And if recall, there was a major pressure vessel failure took place at NTPC Unchahar plant. So to overcome such type of a problem, the Indian Boiler Regulation Act 1950 was again amended in 2010, and the boiler rules of various respective states. So every state, they are having their own boiler rules and boiler certification aspect or certification school, so that they can not only prevent the hazard, pressure hazard, but also the environmental hazard too. Apart from this, the Motor Transport Workers Act 1961, which was amended in 1986. Now the opportunity of this act to provide for the welfare of motor transport worker and to regulate the condition of their work. So this act is supplemented by the Motor Transport Worker Rule 1964. Another act was passed in 1983, that is the Dangerous Machine Regulation Act. Now this act to provide for the regulation of trade and commerce in production, supply, distribution, and the use of the product of any industry producing dangerous machines with the view of securing the welfare of labor operating any such machine, and for the payment of compensation for death or badly injured or suffered by any labor while operating any such a machine, and for matter connecting there with or incidental thereto. So this act was again amended or supplemented by the Dangerous Machine Regulation Rules 1984, which was again amended in 2007 by the Act of Parliament. Another is the Motor Transport Workers Act 1961, because sometimes within industry there may be certain issues related to the transportation. So this act was amended in 1986. Apart from this, there are several other acts being passed by the regulatory body for the welfare of either worker or the persons or the general public, like Plantation Labour Act 1951. This was amended in 2010, and rules thereunder the Bidi cigar worker, that is the Condition of Employment Act 1966, which was amended in 1993. The Shops and the Commercial Establishment Act, the Explosive Act 1884, amended in 1983. There was a Petroleum Act which was established in 1934. The Inflammable Substance Act, which was passed by the Parliament in 1952. Then there is an Insecticide Act in 1968. It was passed and it was amended in year 2000. Apart from this, the Oil Field Regulations and Development Act in 1948, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulation Board, it was established by the Act of Parliament in 2006. The Environmental Protection Act, to keep the safeguard of the environment of any industry, that was amended in 1991. The Water Prevention Control of Pollution Act, it was amended in 1988. Previously, it was constituted by the Parliament. The Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, CES Act in 1977, and which was duly amended in 2003. The Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act in 1981, and it was amended in 1987. The Public Liability Insurance Act, because sometimes whenever any kind of incident takes place, then definitely there are the fixation of liabilities, and there are so many insurance companies, they are playing in cross country. So those who take care of all kind of compensation, so that the economic losses to the either employer or employee can be minimized. So the government of India, they constituted the Public Liability Insurance Act 1981. It was amended in 1992. Then in 2010, the National Green Tribunal Act to safeguard the environment was passed by the Parliament in 2010. Another is the Atomic Energy Act 1962, amended in 1987. Then Electricity Act, which was passed in 2003 and was duly amended in 2007. And the Disaster Management Act, that was passed in 2005. Now let us have a look about the compensation to employees. Now the compensation aspect is extremely important, because whenever any kind of injury or fatality or any kind of hazard takes place, then definitely the health aspect, physical fitness aspect, or life aspect of any employee, obviously it will be at the stake. So in that particular case, to fix the responsibility of the employer, the Workmen Compensation Act was passed in 1923. So which was in 2009 amended to the Employees Compensation Act. Now it provides for the payment by a certain class of employers to their employees compensation for injury by accident, and this covers all employees including the contract workmen that meet with an accident or they are affected by any kind of occupational disease, injury, illness, etc. Now this the act specifies the compensation payable to the employee for the type of permanent disablement dependent on the salary and age of the employee. So there is a factor through which they can decide that how much compensation needs to pay for any particular employee in case of any injury or in case of any say fatality or illness, etc. Now, this act also provides compensation to be paid to the dependents of the employee that meets with the fatal accident, and sometimes this is a very usual practice in industrial establishment. So, the act provides for each state government to appoint a commissioner to decide on any dispute on the amount of the compensation being paid by the employer to the employee. So, they are, the state government, they form the redressal aspect by the appointing of the commissioner. Now, let us have a look about the manufacture, storage and import of hazardous chemical rule 1989. Now, the preamble of this particular act was that say for 1980 the growth of the chemical industry was tremendous by the establishment of different refineries, petrochemical plants, etc. So, there was a dire need to fix up the rules and regulations to cover all kinds of hazardous operations, including storage of chemicals, etc. And that was the need of the time when the Bhopal accident in 1984 took place. So, the government of India, they framed the rule to regulate the different operation of the hazardous chemicals. Now, this rule was amended in 1994 and 2000 and called the Manufacture, Storage and Import of Hazardous Chemical Rule 2000. So, the objective of this particular rule is to provide the procedure and the safeguards for handling of any kind of hazardous chemicals at workplace, maybe industry, storage, pipeline, maybe process, etc. And to lay down the requirement for the industry and authorities to manage the chemical emergency. Now, in the previous slides, we have discussed that they not only put forward the guidelines, they not only put forward the regulations, but also gives an idea of the employer, so that they can become the safe and they can design their process with respect to the safety operations. So, there are certain provisions made by the government in this particular rule, that is the notification of major accidents, that is rule number 5. The occupier shall notify and furnish reports if necessary to the concerned authorities if major accident occurs, because in past several accidents they did occur in and the employer or the plant officials, they didn't report the things, proper things to the local authorities or authorities. Now, another provision is that the concerned authority should undertake full analysis of the accident and send requisite information to the Ministry of Environment and Forest. Another provision is related to the site notification, that is rule number 7 as on date. The occupier shall not undertake any industrial activity unless he had submitted a written report to the concerned authority. Now, if any chemical is liable to reach the threshold, then the activity should be notified accordingly. So, threshold we have already discussed. So, in case if reaches the threshold, that means there are certain malfunctioning in the process. So, any kind of runaway, any kind of hazard may take place. So, it should be notified accordingly to the authorities. Another provision is that updating the notification, that is rule number 8, that occupier should notify if any activity is done following changes in the threshold quantity of the hazardous chemical. So, they are attributed to the safety reports and a safety audit report, that is rule number 10, and on-site emergency. So, occupier should prepare and keep up to date an on-site emergency plan, including all factors such as modification in the industrial process or industrial activity. So, occupier means the owner or the officials of that particular industry. Another provision is that they must submit the data to the authority for any kind of off-site plan. They must disclose all kind of information relevant to the safety of the worker. They must follow the certain rules and regulations as laid down by the government from time to time under the hazardous chemical import rule. So any person responsible for importing hazardous chemical in India shall provide at the time of import or within 30 days from the import, that is the name and address of the person receiving the consignment in India, so that they can fix the responsibility, the port of entry in India, because in India we are having several ports, so at which port they are going to receive the material, so that the necessary precaution can be taken place at that particular port. Now, mode of transportation from exporting country in India, the quantity of chemicals being imported, the complete product safety information. So, these type of things should be reported to the concerning authorities. Then there is a thing related to the monitoring and implementation mechanism. Now, concerned authorities identify and their roles and responsibilities defined in various sections for monitoring and implementation. Now, in this particular case, the industrial authority that need to prepare the safety report and get safety audit conducted in and submit report to the concerned authorities. And the concerned authorities, their responsibility is to review and monitor the implementation of recommendation of that particular audit. So, the authorities related to the industrial establishment, they need to prepare and submit an on-site emergency plan in case of they are dealing with the hazardous substance. So, in case of any eventuality, they must prepare themselves for any escape or any safety aspects. The notification of major accidents by the occupier to the concerned authority, which after full analysis and requisite information by the Ministry of Environment and Forest. Now, concerned authorities, they will prepare and keep up to date an off-site emergency plan containing details specified in various schedules, and sometimes it may be required to carry out the mock trial once in a year or by 6 monthly or quarterly, etc. That may be decided from time to time by the concerning authorities. Now, concerned authorities shall serve an improvement notice in case of a person has contravened to the previous of these rules and requiring that person to remedy for any kind of contravention. So, this type of approach is again essential, and this has been laid down in the rule number 19 of this particular act. Now, there are a list of specific chemicals and criteria. So, various schedules and different part, they give the criteria for identifying any kind of toxic, flammable, explosive chemicals and other parts related to the hazardous chemicals, because sometimes several accidents they took place just because of the involvement of hazardous chemicals like in Bhopal or Sueso, etc. Now, Schedule 2 lists 25 the chemicals and 5 categories along with the 2 set of threshold quantities as qualification of or applicability of various rules to isolate storage, because sometimes when you are handling such type of hazardous chemical, then you may need to isolate them. So, this schedule gives an idea about this one. Now, Schedule 3 lists 179 chemicals under the Part 1 and 6 categories along with 2 sets of threshold quantities as qualification for applicability of various rules to the industrial establishments. Now, these are this table reflects that different type of parameters of toxic chemicals. Now, you can see that degree of toxicity, then oral toxicity attributed to LD50 in terms of milligram per kilogram, then dermal toxicity with respect to LD50, then inhalation toxicity with respect to lethal concentration 50 in having the unit of milligram per liter. So, extremely toxic, highly toxic, toxic. So, their ranges are given with respect to these toxic chemicals. Then there are certain guidelines attributed to the flammable chemicals. So, flammable gases which at 20 degrees Celsius at a standard pressure of 101.3 kilopascal, they are ignitable when a mixture of 13% or less by volume with air, or have a flammable range with air of at least 12% point regardless of the lower flammable limit. Now there are extremely flammable liquids, the chemicals which have a flash point lower than or equal to 23 degrees Celsius and a boiling point less than 35 degrees Celsius. There are certain very highly flammable liquids, the chemicals which have flash point lower than or equal to 23 degrees Celsius and initial boiling point higher than 35 degrees Celsius. There are highly flammable liquids, the chemicals or liquid which have a flash point lower than or equal to 60 degrees Celsius but higher than 23 degrees Celsius. There are certain flammable liquids, the liquids those who are having the flash point higher than 60 degrees Celsius but lower than 90 degrees Celsius. So this is the categorization of flammable chemicals. Now there are certain things related to the explosives. We have already discussed the explosive in the different module. So explosive means a solid or a liquid or a pyrotechnic substance or a mixture of the substances or an article which is in itself capable of by a chemical reaction of producing gas at such a temperature and a pressure and such a speed as to cause the damage to the surrounding. One best example is the firecrackers. Now, which is designed to produce an effect by heat, light, sound, gas or smoke or a combination of these as a result of non-detonative self-sustaining exothermal chemical reaction. So, based on the data collected, you must prepare the database generation of the report. So, you must list the major accident hazard units, then the safety reports, safety audit reports, etc. Then on-site, off-site emergency plans, list of various hazardous chemicals imported into the country, then list of major accidents involving those hazardous chemicals. So, this covers the entire database. Now, another rule is the chemical accidents or emergency planning response rules in 1996. Now, the objective of this particular rule is to provide the administrative structure at different levels, maybe central, maybe state, maybe district or maybe local level for effective planning, preparedness and a response to the chemical accidents. Now, the provision of this rule is the constitution and function of Central Crisis Group, the constitution of Central Crisis Group Alert System, the constitution and function of a State Crisis Group SCG, then the constitution and function of District and Local Crisis Group, maybe DCG and LCG. Now, there are a certain list of specific chemicals and a criteria. So, hazardous chemicals covered in this rule are any chemical which satisfy any of the criteria laid down in part 1 of schedule 1 and is listed as a part 2 of the schedule. So, any chemical which is listed in the column 2 of schedule 2, which you can have it from this particular rule, any chemical listed in column of schedule 3. Different schedules are given for the identifying the toxic, flammable and explosive chemicals, and those chemicals are listed in schedule 1 para 1. Similarly, different categories along with the quantities has been specified in this particular rule and which are listed in schedule 3. So, they have listed almost 179 chemicals with respect to this listing. The next aspect, once you have enlisted these chemicals, and monitoring and implementation mechanism. So, CCG monitors the post-accident situation arising out of major chemical accident, conducts the post-accident analysis review, district off-site emergency plan and review the progress report to State Crisis Group. Now, this State Crisis Group reviews the off-site emergency plan in the state, monitor the post-accident situation and review the progress report of being submitted by District Crisis Group. Now, further this District Crisis Group, they review the on-site emergency plan prepared by the industrial employer or occupier, monitor chemical accidents, and they conduct the full-scale mock trial of chemical accident each year. So, this local crisis group, because after District Crisis Group, the local crisis group comes into the picture. So LCG, this educates the population likely to be affected in a chemical accident or any chemical industry proximity, and conduct one full scale mock trial of a chemical accident in every 6 months. Now, preamble of all these rules was the Factories Act 1948. So, after independence, it was thought that we will subject it to the industrial growth, and when we are subjected to the industrial growth, then we need to frame several rules which are related to the safety, which are related to the industrial harmony of any establishment. So, the government, they passed the Factories Act 1948. Now, the salient feature we are going to discuss in this particular section. So, let us have that first question, that what is factory? A premises whereon 10 or more persons are engaged if power is used, or 20 or more persons are engaged if power is not used in a manufacturing process. Now, because the baseline of all those rules are this 1948 Factories Act. So, objective of this 1948 Factories Act was to, this act has been enacted primarily with the objective of protecting workers employed in the factory against an industrial and occupational hazard. Now, it directs the owner of or the occupier with certain obligations to protect the workers and to secure of them employment in conducive to their health and safety. Now, the question arises, once you frame the rule, then where it is applicable. So, this act is applicable to any place wherein the manufacturing process is carried out on which or without the aid of power source, notwithstanding that the number of a person employed less than 10 with the aid of power, and the less than 20 if working without the aid of power. Now, the person working therein are not employed by the owner thereof, but are working with the permission or under the agreement with such owner. So it covers the contractual workers also. So, whenever we are talking about any kind of the process, then question arises that what is manufacturing process? So, the manufacturing process means any process used for making, alerting, repairing, ornamenting, finishing, packaging, oiling, washing, cleaning, breaking, demolishing, or otherwise treating or adopting any article or substance with a view to its use, sale, transport, delivery or disposal of. So, you see that there is a wide coverage of all industrial operations. It covers the pumping of oil, water, sewage or any other substance, or generating, transforming or transmitting power, or composing type of printing, lithography, photogravure and other similar process, or book binding, etc. So, these are the various processes being enlisted. Like apart from this, the construction process, reconstruction process, repairing, retrofitting, finishing, breaking, etc. Perceiving or sorting of any article in the cold storage, etc. So, they cover the entire manufacturing aspect under this law. There are certain important features attributed to this particular law, that is the power to exempt during public emergency. Now, power to exempt any factory or any establishment or a class or a description of factories from all or any of the provision of this act during the public emergency. The notification is issued in the official gazette. The maximum time period for the exemption is 3 months. Another section deals with the approval, licensing, registration of different factories. So, making an application to the government or a chief inspector along with the duty certified plan and specification required by the rules. They send to the state government and the chief inspector by a registered post, and no order is communicated to the applicant within 3 months from the date on which it is so sent and the permission deemed to be granted. If the application is rejected, then appeal can be made to the government within 30 days of the date of such rejection. this is extremely important, that is the general duties of occupier. So occupier shall ensure the health, safety and welfare of all workers while they are at work in that industrial establishment. Now see, if we recall the latest amendment to the different rules, everywhere it is the responsibility of the occupier to ensure all these aspects which we have discussed in this particular line. Now every occupier shall prepare a written statement of his general policy with respect to the health and safety of the worker. Now bring such statement and any revision thereof to the notice of all the worker. So you cannot amend all those things with respect to your own interest when you are an occupier. Another is that inspecting staff, the state government may appoint any authority, maybe the chief inspector, maybe the additional chief inspector, joint chief inspector, deputy chief inspector, etc. Now they will prescribe their duties and the qualification, and every district magistrate shall be an inspector of for his district. Every inspector is deemed to be a public servant within the meaning of the Indian Penal Code. There are certain powers they were attributed to the inspectors, like enter the factory premises for investigation. They can examine the premises. They can inquire into any accident or a dangerous occurrence, require the production of any register, record or any other document, and they can seize or copy it. They can take the measurements and the photographs. So they have, you can say, the n number of powers for the safeguard of the employee. Another feature was attributed to that particular rule was the disposal of waste and effluent. Now there should be a proper arrangement of disposal of waste and effluent. Now every organization should follow the rules imposed by state government and central government from time to time. So this is mandatory for the occupier. Another thing was attributed to the ventilation and the temperature. Say there must be a proper level of ventilation, temperature and humidity, and it is the responsibility of the occupier to maintain it. Then they will make the provision for reducing any kind of excess heat, that may be because of the mechanical or because of the chemical. Another thing was attributed to the dust and the fumes. So effective measures should be taken to prevent the inhalation or accumulation of dust and fumes. Now if any exhaust appliances is necessary for it, it shall be applied as near as possible to the point of origin of the dust and fume or other impurities. So you can say that they suggest the guideline for the safety designing. There must be certain provisions for the artificial humidification. Now if humidity is developed artificially, keep it in limits so that it can the workers cannot exhaust. The water used for the humidification should be clean so that any kind of contamination to the worker be prevented. Another section deals with the drinking water aspect. So they ensure that there should be a adequate supply of drinking water within the factory premises. Now drinking points to be marked as a drinking water. Nowadays the proper pictorial figures they are being used for marking of such drinking water. Now they should be at least 6 meters away from washroom, urinal, latrine, spittoons, etc. For workers greater than 250, the cool water facility is also be implied or implemented within the factory premises. Then there was a section related to the fencing of a machinery. So every moving part of a prime mover and every flywheel connected to a prime mover, whether the prime mover or a flywheel is in the engine house or not, the head race and the tail race of every water wheel or a water turbine, any part of the stock bar with the projects beyond the headstock of a lathe, and every dangerous or moving part must be securely fenced, and that was being mandatory in this Factories Act 1948. Another section dealt with the machine in motion. So, examination of a machinery in motion not only by the specially trained adult male worker wearing tight fitting clothing so that any kind of hazard may be prevented. So, no women or children should be allowed to work. That was the provision being made in the Factories Act 1948. Another section dealt with the employment of a young person on dangerous machines. So, no young person, that is between 14 to 18 years of age, should be allowed to work on dangerous machine. And later on, the rule has been made that the young person below the age of 18 should not be employed under any circumstances in any establishment. And under the section 35, there was a provision for the protection of eyes. So, it was mandatory to provide the goggles if the worker have to work on something stretching to the eyes. There was a section related to the dangerous fume that they prohibited to employ worker in place where the dangerous gas fume is supposed to be present. Then the practicable measures should be taken for the removal of any kind of a gas or a fumes that was being mandatory under the section 36. So, in this particular module, we had discussed about the various laws, rules, regulations being applicable for various kind of chemical processes in Indian context, and we discussed that how these rules and regulations, they are beneficial not only for the person, those who are working within the establishment or living at the periphery, but they also provide a very guiding tool for the proper designing of any kind of chemical process establishment. So, in case if you have further queries or a reading, then you may refer to the references which are listed in this particular slide. Thank you very much.